Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Deep Dive Podcast. This is episode 2. I'm your host, Owen, and once again, as with episode 1, I am joined by Alice.
Good evening, good evening.
Hey, hello, Alice. And I am joined by DJ.
Hello, mate.
Hello, there we go. Today we are talking about copyright and content ownership. And what I mean by that is everything from who owns the music that you create to who owns the photos you post online. This is off the back of a conversation we were having in just before the previous episode, and we're talking about Snapchat and Instagram and social media sites like that actually owning your photos. Now, Alice, I believe you knew a bit more about this than I did.
Yes, I actually did a production on internet safety with the Inact Theatre Company, and we thought we knew quite a bit already. And then when we started doing the research, oh man, do we know nothing. It was amazing. The apps that you have on your phone and your computers and things like that, the terms and conditions, obviously, you know, they're huge. They're hundreds of pages long. Nobody ever reads them. But a lot of the small print actually says, certainly for Instagram, that whatever you post online, they own. So yeah. Instagram actually has the right to access messages, to access your name, to share your content. So you could post up a beautiful picture of your local park and then go into a card shop 3 weeks later and find that image on a card. And there's actually, I don't think there's anything you can do about it because you ticked those terms and conditions. And in order to use Instagram, you can't not tick the terms and conditions. You have to go through that and select it and say, yes, I'm happy for this to happen.
I think when it comes to just about all of the sites and things like that we're going to mention in this episode, it comes down to those big 250-page terms and conditions that nobody ever reads. That
I don't think anyone's read tech terms and conditions since
maybe the 90s. They've spent 6 months just adding and adding and adding to that, and they'll add to it all the time, and they'll ask you, we've updated our terms and conditions, would you just re-sign it again to make sure that you're okay with it, or re-tick the box? You don't even sign things anymore. It's very quick. I reckon you wouldn't notice that you accepted terms and conditions for Twitter, for instance. You know,
you probably haven't even read them, to be honest. You probably just just tick the box and away you go.
No,
and it's amazing because, you know, Snapchat, for example, you know, the photographs that you show, you share a video or a photograph and it's gone. You know, you share it and then that's it.
That was what gave Snapchat its fame, its prominence, was that it could be used for everything from private conversations about your daily life to clandestine affairs and such. It's a bit. That was it was immediate and it went away very quickly. But as you say, Alice, they don't actually disappear. Snapchat have record of those forever.
They do. This is what people don't understand. So you'll be talking about it with students, and what was always fun was, you know, you've got people, over the age of 20 going in and talk about internet safety. What do they know to schools and things? And these kids would be paying attention because we're doing a good job. But as soon as we mentioned Snapchat, and as soon as we said, you do realize that they own everything. They have a copy of everything somewhere that you've ever sent. The looks on some of these kids' faces who have clearly been sending dodgy things to their friends. Oh, it's absolutely amazing because people do have a copy of everything that you've done. Yeah. Everything that you shared is completely online, and it actually ties nicely back in with the previous podcast where we were talking about cancel culture. Stuff stays online for years and years and years, so people can dredge that back up. And these companies have copies of everything you've ever posted, every image you've ever shared.
It's interesting. Snapchat has been, if anybody who watches the news, I imagine would know this eventually, but Snapchat messages that have supposedly been deleted have been requested by the police and authorities, certainly in this country, in relation to crimes, in relation to people meeting up and saying that they're going to do such and such. They're going to go and throw bricks off the nearby bridge and hit cars with them. And unfortunately, somebody died, and these people would have got away with it if it hadn't been for the police requesting Snapchat data and Snapchat handing it over with timestamps and date stamps and exactly who the messages came from, and the police going, here you go, and these people suddenly going, but we thought they would be deleted. Tough.
It was like the Snapchat map app as well.
Snap Maps, yes.
When I had that open, so I don't use Snapchat anymore for these reasons, because it really creeped me out. But I ended up going on to the map, and I just sort of zoomed in anywhere. I could zoom in anywhere in the world. If you hadn't ghosted yourself,
anywhere in the world, you can, if you know roughly where, even if you don't, you'll see their icon when you zoomed out. Well,
that was it. I ended up clicking on something, and it was I saw this guy naked mucking around. He was mucking around, and then jumped off this cliff into this beautiful ocean somewhere. And but he happened to be nice, so I saw everything, and it was like, I don't know who this person is, and I've just picked a random person on this map anywhere, and this person has now had a stranger from Essex see all of his bits and pieces.
So that, obviously, I mean, you can turn that off, or you can have it only your location only visible to friends.
Yes, you can ghost mode yourself.
You Snapchat. But again, Snapchat keeps all of that data live, and that those things, they're accurate to like the building you're in. It's not a general area anymore. 10 years ago, it would have been just a general area, like the town you're in or something. Nowadays, it's the street you're on, near enough the house you're in, because there's so many mobile masts now that things ping off of and you can get hold of. Snap Maps is one of those. I think Instagram chasing something similar. I mean, you can location stamp your photos with Instagram, but the more interesting thing to me is with Snapchat, even though all your messages are supposedly private, and Instagram, everything you post on there can be used by them as marketing.
Yep.
Same goes to Facebook owns Instagram, and WhatsApp as well. WhatsApp is another one. These can all be used by them for marketing. So a picture of you throwing up on a night out could make it, although it's a bit, on the nose and might not fit, it might end up in some sort of advertisement.
I've seen a lot of videos on TikTok that have been used on posters and viral things, and I have no idea if those people who have done the original content, whether they get paid or whether they're aware of it, or I have no idea if they ever get told, oh, by the way, we're using your image in this advert.
No, because it's on the terms and conditions that they can do that without warning, without payment. You accept that you essentially become poster boys for TikTok's a very good example of being such a recent recent explosion, in the last few years.
Gosh, yeah.
TikTok wasn't a thing before I started university, and I'm about to finish university, and it's huge now. And so many people, as far as I know, when you post to TikTok, you don't get privacy settings. Not so much, so much as to, you can send them just to your friends, but doing that doesn't give you the gratification, the social gratification that TikTok was designed for. The idea of posting TikToks is that you want as many people to see them as possible. But people seem to have lost sight of that, and they'll post just about anything these days. In that same vein, something that's rose to prominence is a bit the more vulgar stuff like OnlyFans. That, obviously, that's a paid-for service, things like that, but it's young females posting all sorts of lewd content that anyone has access to, behind a paywall, of course, but still. And again, they don't own that content anymore. As soon as it goes up on OnlyFans, they don't own that content. Dan, this will be something that you're interested to know. SoundCloud.
Yeah, shoot.
Obviously, you upload the Gaming Pod Show podcast onto SoundCloud.
I do.
Whenever one gets made. SoundCloud can actually use the podcasts or bites from the podcasts to advertise SoundCloud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've sent an email out to our excuse me. They sent an email out to the Gaming Pod Show podcasts, and they pretty much said, like, for advertisement purposes, we can and will use segments of your podcast for advertisements in audio advertisements. So it's not just visual, it's just purely audio. So if there was like an advert, for an example, like on a YouTube video, they'd have audio, but they'd have visuals on the player. So it's an advertisement, so you can click on and it'll go to the website for you to kind of make an account and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, to me personally, I'm thinking, well, I'm paying for an account and using the website on a regular basis. So it wouldn't surprise me if they are kind of picking and choosing from certain content creators like musicians and podcasters and voiceover actors and actresses, that sort of thing. So they're going to bound to be picking something up to kind of force their website and platform onto others via audio advertising.
Yeah.
What's interesting is you pay for the SoundCloud. You pay for that service though, don't you? So that's really interesting that they could possibly still use your stuff, whereas because it's Instagram and your Snapchat and your Twitter and everything, because that's free, I suppose in the terms and conditions they say, well, we're giving you this platform for free, so we can do whatever we want with whatever you do with it. Whereas if you're paying for a service, is that then right for them to take your hard work and use it so they can make more money?
I think it is worth pointing out that while they can use your stuff for advertising, as soon as you post something to SoundCloud, you do have copyright ownership otherwise to the content that you create, as much as you would on YouTube or anywhere else. It's just advertising thus far that they can use it for. I suppose you could see anything in their terms and conditions, but yeah, because they don't want to damage their reputation with people uploading music and such. If suddenly, but it was on SoundCloud, so I can just steal it. You don't want that becoming a punchline. So they've kind of avoided doing that sort of thing. But it's interesting.
It's also the same as YouTube as well. YouTube do that on a regular basis with their sort of ownership and content creators, as well as, because they do everything from live streaming, how-to videos. I mean, especially like the person that does the how-to basic. It's very, very easy videos, but YouTube have used loads of those videos for advertising, just the actual platform of YouTube.
See, back in the day, YouTube would reach out and get in contact with. It was all about the individual creator. It was all about you. The biggest button on the YouTube homepage was the upload a video button, because they wanted you to be the pioneer. They wanted the people to push their platform. Nowadays, it's a lot more about the chosen few and people that essentially just get hits, hits and views and stuff. Yeah, it was just interesting. When I was looking it up, it's just interesting to see that kind of switch. Alice, moving on to you. Obviously, you do quite a bit of radio work. Have you ever noticed problems getting hold of stuff to use on the radio? Do you play music and things like that?
I work for a commercial radio station, so that all works slightly differently. So where I've worked at BBC stations and commercially, there are licenses, and we can play music and we can play certain recordings and certain clips. It's more a case of what the content is and if it's appropriate. So if we find something amusing online, we just have to make sure that for the audience that it is appropriate. So when it's at stations like that, that's where that kind of content is slightly different. And obviously within a company as well, our voices are then used on adverts for the station. So it's all sort of within the contract that we can then create those adverts to advertise the station that we're going to be on and we're being paid to be on as well. So yeah, certain companies, I think you have to look at the small print with your contracts and see whether or not they are able to use your voice or your image for advertising. I get a lot of contracts through as an actor, and it will say within the contract, we have the right to use your image for advertising for the film, because you are the content, you are the face of the content. So obviously, they have the right to use your image within it.
So this is a question for both of you, because I've never asked this before in all our conversation. Have you ever seen any of your work stolen and copyright infringed upon? Your copyright, rights infringed upon?
No, I've been so lucky.
Yeah.
If it's ever been used, it's like I say, because I've already signed that contract, or it's promoting the film I've been in, so it works in my favor. So I haven't, no, thankfully, I've never sat and watched TV and then gone, hang on a second, that's me, and I haven't got any money for that.
I suppose it's a lot harder to do on TV or radio than it would be just on YouTube, where you can just take somebody's videos and re-upload them as your own. I know a friend who had that happen to her.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah. She made kind of these machinima type things inside video games, using the in-game camera and things like that. And edit it all together, and then she, not so long ago, she had a load of the work stolen, and re-uploaded under a different name. Somebody had stuck their own introduction in front of it, and it did, an outro at the end of it, and that's all they changed. They even left her name in the credits of it and stuff. It was absurd. But this person was getting thousands of views on YouTube off the back of her work.
That's crazy.
I have to admit, we've had plenty of people on Twitter that have done that, as well as there was that Robin Rams guy that made all the GTA Machinima videos as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
he did all that. He made like loads and loads, and then he had like, there's one video that had like over 1 million views, and then I think it's like one user stole a few videos, but got like overnight like 200,000-300,000 just over that one day. And it's because obviously I think he hit the right, I think it was like the video tags, or he posted it at a certain time of the day where like the USA was active, and like it just got so many views overnight. And I remember he was on Twitter saying, this video is mine, because it's got his name, its intro, his logo, all watermarked across the entire video. And he hasn't even cropped it. I mean, he hasn't even done anything. It looks like just a basic copy and paste.
Obviously, if you spend any time on Twitter, Dan, this was Bloodlust. The person going by the name Bloodlust, this was her work that had been stolen, much like Robin Rams, as you say.
And that's insane, because that, as you say, that's copying and pasting with other people's work. It's really obvious that they're stealing. So that would be really interesting to look into the laws of YouTube and just say, well, you only get money from those kinds of videos if you get a certain amount of views, or you put, you have a video that has advertising on it. So if you're not necessarily making that much money from the video, does that then mean that other people can use your stuff?
This is one of the inherent flaws with YouTube, Twitch, everywhere else, YouTube Live, whatever it's called, Facebook videos. They make money by sticking adverts on your content. If your content's popular, more people watch it, and therefore, if you stick adverts on there, they make money, and you can make a little bit of money as well if you're high enough rated. You've got enough of a reputation for that.
Yeah.
But that it's become a bit of a cutthroat thing, because if you're not making enough money for them, they care less about you, because they are a business, but they seem to. Maybe this is skewing it a bit unfairly. Maybe this is a bit biased, but it seems like they care more about the money than the creators these days. Over the last 3 or 4 years, the DMCA takedowns. The DMCA, is the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which is a set of US laws. Obviously, Twitch is a US-based company, so US laws apply to it internationally, based on you using Twitch, and it's music and stuff like that, because immediately YouTube do the same thing. If you get 5 seconds of a I don't know, somebody, but Kanye West song, there you go, in your video or is on your live stream, the record company and the licensing company behind that song can then claim the revenue for the entire video.
Oh.
Oh yeah, they could do that easily.
They can say, right, we're claiming the entire revenue for the video, or we're taking the video down. And because these people make so much money for the likes of YouTube and Twitch with their own videos, for them posting stuff on their own channels, they have YouTube's backing to take stuff down immediately. Like, we're talking within minutes of you uploading something with even 5 seconds of a song in. It can be gone. And I think it's just a bit very one-sided. I say a bit, very much so, very one-sided, and it's not right. But there's nothing to be done about it. Almost, it's all a bit hopeless, and that's kind of what I wanted to draw attention to today.
Yeah, because it's the big companies that own everything, and like you say, they'll sort of start pushing it as everyone can use this platform, and everyone can do this, that, and the other, and you can do your own stuff at home. And then if you start making money, they just want the cash off you.
Yeah, they want their pound of flesh. Yeah,
absolutely. Which is a difficult when, as I said before, if they're making something that is essentially free to use, then the updates that have got to be done on these social media platforms, things like that, someone's got to do them somewhere.
Yeah.
And so how do they bring the money in? So
there's also
again,
things for. Sorry, Alice, go on.
No, I was just saying, and then we're back to them taking your content and making money from it in their own way.
What I was just about to start with is you've also got to realize that, especially with gaming, as well as they use a lot of content for that sort of thing, as well as for like gaming adverts. Like Fortnite seems to be the biggest game franchise at the moment with their advertisements. I mean, especially when they had I can't remember when it was, but one of the seasons when they literally shut the entire online game down for 2 days to because of the start of the season. Now, I know we've talked about this on the Gaming Pod Show podcast several times. I mean, I hate Fortnite. I hate the gameplay. It's not my thing. But how they do things as a business it really does catch my eye. Because I'm thinking, if you close a whole game to everyone around the whole world, people do just lose their. I mean, there was so many people that are tweeting saying like, the game's broken, it's, Fortnite's dead, blah blah blah. But it's how they push the entire game forward for a new season, and then that opens up more doors for in-game purchases, for the season, for the skins, for new weapon skins, everything. And then once the game started up again, I mean, the revenue they got for that first, I think it's like that first 2 week period of the new season started, they were literally raking it in. They had so much money the first 2 weeks of that game starting.
The thing about stuff like Fortnite is obviously they have a lot of licensed brands in there. I mean, Fortnite's got everything from Disney and Star Wars
and Marvel and what's the newest thing they had? I can't remember it now. Lara Croft is the newest one because of her 30-year anniversary.
Here's the interesting thing. What are the rules then if you record a video or take an in-game screenshot with that character in there? Because those characters are copyrighted.
Yeah, it's still technically not going to be your content, because the content you are showing is obviously part of Fortnite, which is Epic Games, as well as Disney or Marvel because of the characters' content as well as. And if you do happen to post it on Instagram or Twitter or I don't think you can post it on Snapchat actually. But anyway, whatever social media platform they then have the overall rule of this is gaming content. It's not yours, so we can use it as advertisement on the social media platform that you're using. You've got like no control over it. If you've posted that screenshot, it's got in-game content which isn't yours technically, and then you post it on a social media platform, bang, you've got not a leg to stand on.
Another thing with that, certainly with in-game content, is obviously a lot of people take a lot of pride in building portfolios of in-game captures, as they're called, or in-game screenshots, because quite a lot take a lot of effort. Not as much as certainly the video machinima things, but the pictures, some of them look absolutely beautiful. And giving people a free camera, it means that you can make some very creative shots, and then post them. But then other users still steal those, much like the videos, and it amazes me. Before we wrap up, I just want to go back to this. We mentioned that YouTube and things like that, they have all the power when it comes to who is allowed to infringe copyright and things like that. You'll have likely heard about YouTube's 3 strikes system. So if you
I heard about that.
You do 3 things against their terms of service, and your account can be suspended and then closed after a review by a human being. It's not just an automatic thing. But included in that is obviously your things like things that aren't acceptable for viewing on a social media platform. The obvious references to underage things and things like that sort of thing, that's wrong. But also in there at the bottom is copyright infringement. If you fail to contest, if you unsuccessfully contest 3 copyright strikes, your account can be closed.
And so it's just copyright that they'll have this issue over as well.
Yeah, pretty much.
If somebody comes along and says, "Oh, this is my content," on your video, they put a copyright strike in and they say, "This is my content based on this licensing agreement. There's companies dedicated to doing this. They drop this licensing, that's mine." And then if you don't allow them to have the monetary access to the revenue, they take the revenue, or B, they take the video down. And when they take the video down, you get a content strike.
Oh my goodness. So just think all of that effort and all of that. There was a YouTuber that I really liked, and I know that demonetization is obviously slightly different to sort of the copyright thing, but a lot of her work was getting demonetized because YouTube suddenly changed their rules, and after all these years of being able to do special effects makeup, she suddenly wasn't able to do it because they didn't like the look of it or something. Something changed in the contract somewhere that no one had read, and all of a sudden, all of these people all over, not just the person that I was following, were getting demonetized. And you just think people have just spent so long, and these videos take such a long time to film and edit, and they're trying to do them on a daily basis to get revenue in. And
Yeah.
if they just have and like I bet there isn't a steadfast set of rules for the copyright either, because I know a few people that had sort of posted and said, I didn't even realize I was infringing on certain things. Or I think there's one point where one YouTuber that I liked was playing a clip of a song, and you can only play a certain length, and they thought they were playing that length, and it clearly was like half a second over or something, and they were getting demonetized because they were using a tune that they weren't legally allowed to.
Yeah, the rules are on a knife edge. They really are. Either you're under or you're over on the timing thing. And nowadays they've got rid of the timing thing. As I said, not even 5 seconds of something. If the likes of Shazam or some sort of detection software will recognize it in under 5 seconds, then so will their equipment. And this happens automatically. YouTube is constantly scouring every new video that gets uploaded for copywritten material.
And then the updates that they'll do with regards to their contracts and the terms and conditions, there's no way they've sent out an email every single time.
No.
there's no
way.
They
just do it without remorse. They just send it out. They'll be like, we'll just take your video off straight away.
The thing there is part of the original contract you sign will be this contract will update periodically. It is up to you to come back and check it or something. They'll have put that clause in there. It's like it's on you. And
it's just mad how many
you can't afford
how many of these contracts are. No, you can't afford to keep going back and rereading it
like this. You can't afford to contest it, not properly, not unless you're Disney. But then again, it's probably Disney giving you the copyright strike. So it's all a bit hopeless.
And it's people sort of people having access to this and being able to use your images and your voice and all of this kind of stuff. And it's like when people were freaking out over the new WhatsApp or something, and some of my friends were saying, oh no, I'm not going to use WhatsApp anymore because of this new rule that has now come into play, because I think they were getting owned by Facebook, or I got very confused by it all. And I was like, you do realize that if you then use Twitter, they still got all of your information. If you're still using Instagram, there's still, so a few of my friends in a group chat were like, look, they've already got all of my information. They already can access all of my stuff because I have to use this for work. So you can come off WhatsApp, but if you're still on Twitter, they've still got all of your information, everything you ever signed up for, and they can still use your images.
Yeah, I suppose real quickly then, before we wrap up, I got to ask, and I'll just throw this out onto the floor really quickly. What could these social media sites like Snapchat and Facebook and all of its conglomerates, Instagram, what could they do better for the average user? Just make it less confusing and maybe a bit less, because it's very strict, a bit less strict. How can they change that?
Gosh, I think for me, it's explaining their rules and regulations a lot simpler. So perhaps having a breakdown of, did you know that Instagram can take your name off you, your username off you, and they can have access to this and they can use your photographs. That's me summing up 2 or 3 of their rules in one sentence. That's what they need to be doing. And then say, and if you want to read further, these are the detailed links that you can then click on, so people actually can read the terms and conditions and actually understand what they're signing up for. Because I don't think anyone, including myself, has understood any of the stuff I've signed up for that I've got all over my phone and my laptop whatsoever.
So you think it should be on the content sites themselves to make people more aware of this? You absolutely think it's on them?
Yeah, they're not using terms that the everyday person understands or uses, so you're not going to bother reading it. Whereas if they can break down certain bullet points and give you the absolute basics and then give you access to the full thing, so if you then go, well, I'm not sure about that, okay, so that's paragraph, so they've got more information on paragraph 3 of this link, okay, then I can read into it more. Because if you're giving pages and pages and pages using very complicated language, you're not going to read it. Whereas if they break it down for you, I just think people will be more aware of what they're sharing. And I just think young people will be able to, understand that their images, whatever they're sharing, someone's got a copy of it somewhere. If you shared something naughty with your partner, some person in office somewhere has that in a file,
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Dan? Or is that roughly what
No, I think you guys have hit it nail on the head with that one, I think, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we will leave it there then. I've been your host, Owen, joined by Alice and Dan. Thank you for listening to the Deep Dive podcast, and we will see you soon.